the reason they will make $1 million, say a year or 2 years from now, depending on where they are starting from, is because they start acting like the person they need to be who would make $1 million. Now, it doesn't mean fake it till you make it. It means the characteristics of the person that makes $1 million in that category, in that work that they want to do. They need to show up as that person today.
Welcome to the Daniela Baumann Show, where we share stories that inspire and empower. Today's guest is Ajit Nawalkha, a successful entrepreneur, best-selling author, and one of the world's top coach trainers. Ajit grew up in a small home in India with 23 family members. He started small but dreamed big. As CEO of Mindvalley and founder of a global coaching platform, he has helped over 150,000 coaches worldwide. Now living in Dubai, he helps people live with more freedom and purpose through his powerful coaching methods. And to everyone watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss an inspiring story. And let's begin. Wow, I'm so excited.
I am so stoked to be here.
Finally.
Yes, I've met you a couple of times, but never really had a chance to have a deep conversation. Today we get to have that.
Yeah, I'm so, what I can say, happy that you are here today. And also you moved to Dubai.
Yes.
Why?
Well, we are in Austin and Dubai, so we live kind of between that, but most of our time right now is in Dubai, and that's for two reasons. One is family, and second is just the season of life that we are in. So family, because my parents live in India, and they don't want to move to America, also because of the crazy stuff that's happening there right now. And so this was like a good middle point. Instead of moving to India, we could move somewhere that was a little bit more central. They could come, but we could still maintain an interesting lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And second is because of the season of life that we are in. Me and Nita, my wife, we have 2 young kids, and we have always traveled around the world. This is more central to be able to travel globally. So lifestyle-wise, it kind of fits what we like doing. Business-wise, Dubai is a fantastic opportunity because everybody's like, it's like living in New York, but a lot more cleaner, a lot more nicer. Everybody wants to help each other versus trying to compete with each other. So it's just a different vibe. But it is as progressive as a major city would be. So it kind of offers all the wonderful things with the safety, with great food, great friends, great community. So that's why Dubai.
And what I feel, did you feel the same? That people are more open here?
Yes,
to
absolutely.
make new people when you go somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. Everybody's like really friendly. We are fascinated with how big our community has become in such small time. We've been here about 3 months, I want to say, just about 3 months at the time of recording this conversation. And Nita did an event like last weekend, and we had like 100 people there.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And, yeah, which is also like really put together in like a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Getting 100 people to come in was just amazing to a community where we've just been 3 months.
But I think sometimes it's also not so easy with kids to emigrate in another country. How was it?
Well, our kids are trained to move, I think, a little bit, because we are very, like I said, we are very traveling style people. We travel all the time. So our kids are really friendly. You've met them as well. They will jump around. They will go become friends. They'll find other kids. They'll become really friendly. So they're having a great time here in Dubai as well. And we check in with them constantly to like, hey, how are you feeling? They do miss their friends from back in Austin, but they're having a ball time here too.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So drive in the first topic, obstacles in personal development.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with this big topic. What do you think are the biggest challenge people faced in their personal development, and how can they overcome them? in this today's world?
So in today's world, I think the two biggest challenges that anybody has in personal development is, firstly, is that they know a lot, but they do very little. So everybody is becoming self-educated thanks to social media, thanks to AI, thanks to all the wonderful work any of the trainers and teachers have done in the world to be able to present information that may seem meaningful. But how many of our friends or how many people that we know who can theoretically explain what's going wrong with them, but can't do anything to change it?
Yes.
A lot of them.
A lot of
I
them.
would say probably about 90% of them
have
full understanding. Hey, this is what happened. This is what's happening for me right now. And you meet them 6 months later and they're doing the same thing. And the difference between the ones who can change and the one who cannot change is they understand the one thing that really matters in personal development is not your past, but your present. And that's the biggest distinction to really understand. Your past actually has no effect on your future life. It has only effect on your present life because you're letting it. Right? So if you tell yourself the same story again and again and again, soon enough it becomes your truth. It's not the truth because there is no one ultimate truth that is known, at least not yet. But there is the truth that is known, that is your truth that is known to you. And because you operate from your truth, you think that is the absolute truth, and hence you start operating as if that's the only way to live life. That's the only thing you can have. That's all you can have. So the first quote unquote lie or the first challenge in personal development is there's a lot of education and there's very little transformation. Because transformation, which is the second thing that one must understand about personal development, is transformation doesn't happen on an Instagram reel. Transformation doesn't happen because of a book. Transformation doesn't happen because of a lecture. Transformation is deep work. It takes days, it takes months, it takes years before you can fully transform into what your true identity or your lived identity that you've always desired and somewhere in your heart known that you can live is realized. Because a true identity, so let me give you an example. So it's like a cocoon becoming a butterfly. Right? It is an overlay effect in the biological nature of cocoon and a butterfly. But if you think about a human being, it's like creating a new version of you. So you may be in a cocoon and there is a description of it and factors of it, and there's an identity that is associated to it. But if you choose to be a butterfly, it may take several weeks, several months for you to be able to fully become a butterfly. And for that, you must do what is called identity work. And identity work is basically you practicing what you say you're going to be, quote unquote, one day. But that one day can be today if you start practicing it today.
Yeah.
Most personal development is only effective if it's applied. Otherwise,
is this something like a manifestation that you manifest the best version of yourself?
So manifestation is understood differently by different people. So best application of personal development is the action that you put in today and the identity that you personify today or identity that you show up as today. So let's take a contextual example of manifestation, right? So say somebody says, I want to make $1 million. And let's say they've never made it, right? The reason they will make $1 million, say a year or 2 years from now, depending on where they are starting from, is because they start acting like the person they need to be who would make $1 million. Now, it doesn't mean fake it till you make it. It means the characteristics of the person that makes $1 million in that category, in that work that they want to do, they need to show up as that person today for that to be realized in the time that it'll take for it to be realized. So there's an understanding one must have in personal development, in money, in relationship, in whatever that is that you're in fame, whatever it is that you want to have in life, is that there is a time dissonance between what you do today and when it gets realized. There's a time gap between what you say today you will have. So if you are making $1 million right now, the work for that was done months ago, days ago, maybe years ago. So when you say, oh, I should just have the money now, what you're not understanding is there's a time gap. And there is no way that we know practically that you can bypass that gap, except that somehow I can install the future you in your present you. The version that needs to be to do what you wanted to do in the future, if I can install that in you today, I accelerate the pace of you realizing that truth.
Wow.
And that's the only thing that can be done today. It will still take the time. There is no bypassing the time. The metaphysical that we talk about, that I can jump into another universe and then it'll realize today, it doesn't get realized today.
Okay.
All you're realizing is the version of person that you need to be that can realize that truth today.
Wow. But you can say also, I like to become, it's not good to say become rich. It's good to have an idea what you want. Okay, when you say,
Yes.
I want to have 1 million, is this good to make like a date, a time, a year, maybe next year at the same time? Or is this only one day I want to be rich? How is the best way for someone who have this big dream in front?
So, first of all, having $1 million is not a big dream, right? So there's two ways of looking
Not
at life.
today, no.
Yeah. So no, the reason I'm saying that is because it's so when we associate numbers to anything, it's the dream was automatically small. Yeah, it could be 100 million, it could be $1 billion. The dream already becomes small, is because if you, and I'm sure you've interacted with so many of them, and you are one of them actually, who has had enough goals that were number goals, right? And you got them, you bypassed them, and then you're like, and you went on to the next thing, right? Because those are not your real dreams. Your dream is usually a lifestyle that you want. There's a way you want to show up, the way you want people to treat you, the way you want to move in the world, the kind of work that you want to do, the kind of holidays you would like. That's the dream. The money, the kind of person you will date is so you can realize that dream, right? The kind of car you will drive is so you can realize that dream. It has nothing, that's not the dream, right? So when we are dreaming the dream, you don't want to put a timeline because the dream could be realized next year or in 10 years.
Okay.
The dream is that vision of life that you want to have, which are usually values-based, because it will come from a place of what do I really value in my life? And when you are chasing that dream, who cares if it gets realized today or in 10 years? Because that's a life's purpose and meaning almost that you're getting to live, right? Your most interesting way of living life. And if you realize it sooner or later, it's indifferent because it is a lifestyle, right? Now, when you put numbers, it is ideal to put 10-year goals, at least in our study. And I've trained almost 15,000 coaches at this point, 3,000 testimonials on the Mindvalley platform. So I know this works.
Okay.
Right. So you want to have a 10-year goal. If you're putting goals, put a 10-year goal. The reason for that is when you have a 10-year goal, you have a sense of clarity, but you're not panicked by it. You don't have anxiety for it. So if I say, hey, Daniela, in 10 years, would you like $1 billion? And let's say you say, hey, Ajit, I want to make $1 billion in 10 years. Let's say hypothetically,
that's interesting.
right? So if you say, hey, I want to make $1 billion, that's just for the sake of example, right? I want to make $1 billion in 10 years, right? You'd go, okay, what do I need to create in the world that will help me make $1 billion?
Okay.
And then 10 years seem like I can do that in 10 years, right? It's like, okay, you have to hire the right people, invest in the right companies. However, that is your process of building that income. You can somehow make a plan that will help you make $1 billion. So you don't have anxiety for it because you're like, okay, I have time. I can do this. I can do it this way, right? But if I say, let's make $1 billion next year, right? And let's say, hypothetically, the person we are talking to, or the person who's dreaming the dream of $1 billion says, yeah, but I'm trying to make 100,000 a year right now, right? Now, what happens with this person is immediately they say, I have no way of doing this next year. I can't figure a path. All I have is overwhelm and anxiety and eventually defeat.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's too big. And most of our goals that we want to have are too big from the place we are dreaming right now, like the goals. Right.
But it's also good to dream big. I remember 2 years ago, my biggest dream was speaking on TEDx.
Yeah.
And now my dream comes true. I think, or I believe that of course, you can dream big, but you have to be focused. It have to be also a little bit like real,
Absolutely. Yeah.
It have to be a little bit touchable.
Yeah.
But what I believe also, what is very important, that the way, I love also the way, the love, the preparation now for the talk, and I think a lot of people, they think always to the goal, but then when they reach the goal, why this is a big problem. When you reach the goal, then you feel like, I had it now, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think the way is more important. What do you think about?
You're so spot on. You're so spot on. Way is the most interesting thing, which is why if you choose lifestyle and you don't choose goals, what tends to happen is you fall in love with the way, because you're never really chasing a number. You're never really chasing a destination. You're chasing a way of life. And a way of life can be realized today. The way of life can be realized in 3 months. The way of life might already be realized in your life, you know?
Yes.
You might already be living it, and that's perfectly okay. That's a beautiful place to come from, because it doesn't come from a place of need. It doesn't come from a place of feeling you're less than, or that you can't love yourself because of whatever reason, right? The reason why I say 10-year goals is because you can dream big in a 10-year cycle. And secondly, what I've observed, and observed for my students as well, is then when you have a 10-year goal, you realize it anywhere between 3 to 5 years. So while you have a 10-year goal, you will find that it gets realized anywhere between 3 to 5 years from you setting that goal. So when I first set the goal of building a company that was called EverCoach, now it's called Mindvalley Coach. We merged with Mindvalley as a company recently last year. When I first set that quote unquote goal, I'd set myself for about 6 years away, right? Wow. Because I was building the company still. I was like, we'll build it and hopefully Mindvalley will be interested in buying it like 6 to 8 years down the line. It was in my 10-year vision statement.
You had really this vision? Wow.
Yeah,
this vision for 10 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have very clear visions always for 10 years from now. But here's the thing. I know that they will manifest faster. So I had set it for 10 years. It got realized in like 5 or 6 years. So it didn't take that long.
Okay.
Right. And that's what is the beauty of setting very long-term visions or goals, is that they actually get realized much sooner, but you're not anxious about it. You don't have any kind of resistance for it. You're not going, oh, it's not happening. And that anxiety actually takes energy from you.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And so you don't want to give that energy to this thing that you don't necessarily, like there's no, like you feel great. Like when we merged the company and we sold the company, it was great for a day. After that, it's like, life is life. I'm still living my values. I was still living the values before that happened. Still having a great time. I still love my kids. Yeah. I still hang out with my wife all the time. I still have great friends. I still love my parents. Like, it's the same life. I'm not changing my life, but it's like a good checkbox. Like, oh, great, we did that.
But coming back to the goals, when it comes to goals, what are some tips you have for setting realistic and fulfilling goals? What the audience have to do when they say, okay, I have a goal. What are the steps?
So I think the first step should be, if you can, find the values that you live from. So if you know the values that you live from, you will set a lifestyle. So that's always the first thing in my point of view, because it'll give you almost like the perfect day of your life. There's an exercise we do. It's called the perfect day. The perfect day exercise invites you to write down, if you woke up tomorrow and tomorrow was your perfect day, what would you do? How would you wake up? What would you do when you wake up? What kind of work are you doing? What kind of impact are you making? What kind of friendships do you have? What is your love life looking like? What's your kids looking like? Where do you go to work? Do you go to work, or the work comes to you? How is it that your perfect day unfolds? Because when you are clear about your perfect day, what you realize is that's the process, like we were talking about. Like it's the process of living every day is what fuels us, not those big goals, right? So first thing, identify your perfect day. Okay. So at least you're value aligned. You know what really is important to me. Now, from that place, I invite you to ask yourself, what's my 10-year goal? Where am I going in 10 years? And be as vivid about it as possible. Not just here's this big number or this big relationship or this big house or car, whatever that is for you. Not just this one big thing, but details. What's the experience of life that you want? Who is it that you are hanging out with? What are your friends? Are you kicking every Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Are you going for games? Are you playing paddle? What are you doing? Like define your life, the beauty of life that you get to experience across as many domains that are important to you. A great way to do that is to consider doing what is called the Wheel of Life. You could just Google it. Wheel of Life basically gives you 12 different categories of life. You can take the categories of life and you can say, okay, what's my spirituality looking like in 10 years from now? What is my, relationship looking like in 10 years from now? And you write down or put pictures for it. So you have a really clear visual view of what you're really chasing. The reason to do the perfect day and your Wheel of Life is because when you have that, your orientation becomes really clear.
You have a focus.
You have a focus. Yeah. And I think the biggest challenge with goals is that they are not focused, which is why they're harder to realize, is because we get distracted with any noise that comes on the way, anything that's trending. Once you have that, then we come to realistic goals. Okay. Is because you have now had your big vision, You've had your big goal. You know what you're creating in life. Now you say, okay, in the next 3 years, what is it realistically I can do that will help me move towards my 10-year goals, which ultimately helps me live my perfect day.
Wow.
Right. So now in 3 years, you can get very comfortable because you know in 10 years, I'm looking at this big thing that I want to realize. So I can see what needs to happen in 3 years, even in 1 year if I want to, right? If let's say, for example, in 10 years, you're like, you know what? In 10 years, I want to walk out. Let's say somebody who's overweight, hypothetically, let's assume that. They're like, in 10 years, I want to walk out of the beach and I want everybody in the beach to look around and say, what a sexy man.
Wow.
Or what a sexy woman, right? So it sounds like, wow, that's amazing. And in 3 years, can I fix my nutrition? Yeah, I think so, right? Can I eat better? Can I lose the extra pounds? Absolutely. It doesn't drive you nuts. You're not relying on drugs. You're saying, hey, I can do this sustainably, right? Now you can have realistic goals. And when you have realistic goals that are aligned to a long-term, really crazy goals that really you're like, if I have that, that will be so amazing. I would truly feel like I'm taking the juice out of life.
Wow.
Now you can have an everyday process that helps you live it.
But I think a big problem is motivation for people, and staying motivated is so hard, especially in tough times. A lot of people have tough times. And how do you help your clients keep really their motivations up?
So what I found is there's some reasons that are pretty evident for motivation, at least in our clients. And they tend to be, they sometimes would say them as burnouts, but it's not burnout. It's just a dip in motivation that somebody has.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And burnout is a great term that is made popular recently. But really what a burnout is you moving towards a goal that you can't get.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Or there are 3 reasons for it. One is that it's like something that you're chasing and you're chasing every day and it's not getting realized. So in a week, you're like, I'm not hitting it. And then you feel burnt out. In a month, in 6 months, you feel like I've been trying this thing for 6 months, not working, right? That's what causes burnout. That's one reason, right? In workplace, usually the burnout happens because there's somebody else telling you to run to a goal that you're not motivated by, and now you're burnt out. Right? It's like the boss saying, we have to do this quarterly goal. And you're like, I don't care. Like, I really don't want to get to this quarterly goal. I don't give a damn about this quarterly goal. I don't even like this company. Right? And so you get burnt out, right? Because you're chasing like a crazy person that's not even your goal. Right? So that's the second reason why a person experiences burnout is because chasing somebody else's goal. Right? And third reason why people tend to have burnout is because they have no goal.
And what they're doing when they don't know or don't find the purpose.
Yeah.
What they're doing when you have a client and he or she really don't know. I know a lot of people also around me, they don't know. They say, oh, I don't know what I do in life. How you can help them as a coach.
So 3 different people, 3 different techniques. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about the first kind of person, which is a person who says, I got no goals.
Yeah.
I have no purpose. I don't know what to do. What purpose do I need? The reason for when somebody says they don't have purpose is because they have not given themselves enough input to be creative.
Okay.
Okay. So when you feel you're stuck, it's a creativity gap. Okay. Because we as humans, when let's say there's a certain amount of information, like somebody who's listening to this podcast probably is not stuck. But somebody who's not listening to these kind of conversations gets stuck because they go, I have all the data, I have the money, I don't know what to do with my life, right? But the reason is because they're not taking new and different data.
Okay, interesting.
Right. So if you're not being fed information that will inspire you, you will get stuck. And because you'll get stuck, you will not get creative, and hence you'll get stuck. So how do we do this? Because just giving information doesn't work. It needs to be new information.
Okay.
Right? So you need to look at the world differently. And that can only happen when you're experiencing the world differently.
Oh, interesting.
I cannot give you a book and say, now this is new data for you, you're creative. You won't be because you're not experiencing it.
It means like you have to go out from your situation you are right now. Okay.
So you have to do something that you have never done before.
Okay.
Right? And you have to do it enough times that it inspires new creativity in you. Comfort, which is our society, by the way, our society, Dubai definitely has a lot of comfort in the society, which means you don't have to do anything to live very comfortably. A lot of people, at least, right? A lot of our friends, they don't have to work. They don't have to create. They're comfortable and they can continue to be comfortable for their entire lifetime and maybe their kids' lifetime too, right? So what is it that we do to bring back that fire that they always had, but because of the comfort they have around, they've not experienced it in a long time? You have to get them to experience things that they would otherwise not experience. And they have to be new things and they have to experience it, right? So how do you get them to experience it? There are many ways, right? So what we would do is we would often invite them over to our events because our events are designed to be very different experiences than anything else. It's very challenging. It's very confronting to your reality. It questions your identity. And so people go, oh, crap, I've never thought about that before. It gets you to do things that you will be definitely uncomfortable with, not in a bad way, in a good way. You'll be like, okay, these people are a little nuts sometimes. It feels like from the outside in. It's not crazy stuff that we do, but it's like, all right, we are going to put you in a meditative state that is almost like a trance-like state. Without anything, we don't do any, stuff that is not legal. It's just meditation, but you will go and transcend to another version of the mind of yours, right? We would have the whole room move together. Right? We would question, challenge, and really push you to the edge so you are questioned and transformed from the inside out versus outside in. Nobody lectures you, we question you, right? So it changes everything. That's one way. Another way is to choose experiences. Like if you have never dared to jump off an airplane, let's get you to jump off an airplane.
Wow.
If you've never gone to India with your wallet back home, let's send you India. No wallet. Right? So you figure out life in a very different light and you go, okay, there's something more.
Something else.
There's something else. And so it kind of, these poking, it looks like poking and very uncomfortable, but at the same point in time, it's a discovery, and discovery is always uncomfortable. Growth is always uncomfortable. And so we do those things so they can get out of their, everything's good, everything's sustained, everything's normal. We shake them out of that reality so they can see parts of them that otherwise have just subdued because life's so comfortable.
Yes.
So if there's anyone that is listening right now is thinking, hey, I don't know what my purpose is, it's because we are lacking creativity.
Very interesting.
And the second reason that happens, because especially for a person that is looking for purpose and not finding one, is because they're trying to find the ultimate purpose. And the ultimate purpose of life is to live. And there's nothing more complex than that.
Okay.
What you're choosing is what is called a living purpose. And a living purpose is the purpose that evolves with you. And so you choose any purpose for now and you start with it. And know that it is just a stepping stone to really finding your living purpose 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, and it'll change and evolve with time. So that comfort of knowing that, hey, there's no ultimate purpose you're going to find. What you're finding is what is living purpose. And you can choose it if it's not coming to you.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. Very interesting. I think with this talk, we can help so many people here out. When you have questions, of course, anytime you can leave a comment, and this is so beautiful, I think a lot of people don't know it. They don't know what they have to do exactly. And this is amazing when you share these steps. Was there a surprising moment in your life that changed how you see things?
Oh, yes. There's been so many moments in my life when I saw different things in different ways. But the one that comes to mind is the one that happened about 10 years ago now.
Wow.
10 years ago, I was running Mindvalley. I was CEO of the company. And great career, awesome. Loved my work there. But in the journey of becoming wildly successful, I was like 30 at the time. So I was really young. At 30, becoming a CEO was a huge deal to my mother.
Wow.
Huge deal to me too. I was like, 30, you're a CEO? What?
Wow.
It was like one of those crazy things. But everything else in my life was kind of like in shambles. It wasn't going anywhere. Like my relationship with a partner at that time was not going anywhere. I didn't have real friends. I was not connecting to my real friends. I wasn't connecting to my parents very much. Everything around my life, health was kind of not really there. So everything in life was kind of not working out.
Yeah.
Except my career.
Okay, you was focused only in the career.
I was just focused on the
else.
career.
Okay.
Yeah, I was focused on the career, so that was working out, and nothing else was. And one of the evenings was the New Year's Eve of 2014, and we were walking down the street and just partying with like colleagues and everything. And then there's this lady. Suddenly, I see this lady across me white garb as if she's coming from a ceremony.
Oh.
Right. And I'm like, that's really weird. It's a New Year's Eve. Who is in a ceremonial clothing in the middle of a party, a street party too, you know, the New Year type parties. I was like, who's this person? And she's looking right at me. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what this woman wants from me. You know, I'm like, I don't get it. She starts walking towards me and comes and asks me the question, who are you?
Wow.
And I was like, hold on, I'm in the street in like the city, and who are you? I was like, hi, I'm Ajit. And she goes, no, I want to know who are you? Wow. And at that time, I was so attached to my identity of being CEO of Mindvalley that I said, I'm the CEO of Mindvalley. Because in my head, I thought maybe that's why she's asking. Maybe she knows Mindvalley. Maybe she saw my picture and she was like, oh, he's that guy. So she's just trying to identify because she thinks I'm familiar. And I go, I'm CEO of Mindvalley. And she goes, no, I want to know who are you?
Wow.
And I'm like, I didn't know the answer to that question. I couldn't answer the simple question of who am I? The only thing I knew was my name and the title at a job I had, right? And that kind of was like that moment where I was like, hold on, I don't know the answer to this question. Now, by the time I kind of got out of my head, this lady was gone. So I have still to date no idea who this lady is. I've never seen her again. But that lady at that time, or a fiction of my imagination at that time, changed my life. Because I couldn't let go of that question that day of who am I? Because I couldn't answer that question for days after that. And that set me on a path to discover who am I? And that became what it is today. 10 years later,
this is incredible.
Yeah.
You never saw this woman again?
Never. I have no idea who she was.
Who you are. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a powerful question if you really think about it.
Yeah,
a lot of us cannot answer that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. It's a simple question. You've probably answered it a million times. If you think about it, you're like, who am I? It's a good question.
It's a very good question.
It's a good question, yeah.
Have there been any decisions in your life when you look back that you regret? Is there anything where you say, okay, or what lessons did you learn from those experiences?
So I have a lot of lessons I've learned in life. I don't really regret things. Because what I have understood of me, and I think of us as humans, is that we are always making the best decision we can with the information we have. And so we can question our decisions in like looking at the past, because now we have more data and we can go, well, that was a good decision, that was a bad decision. But when we are making that decision, the situation, the energy, the emotion, the facts, the data we have, we are always making the best decision we can make with all that complex set that we are working with at that time. We are not rational beings. Humans are not rational beings. And I don't think we should be one. We have great insight through emotions. And those impact a lot of decisions we make. So I think regret is useless. And I don't regret any of the decisions I've made it. But I've definitely learned a lot of lessons in life through different experiences of life that I cherished and I learned. One that comes highlighted to me, and I'm guessing would be relatable to people here, because this is Dubai and there are a lot of Indian population, the Arabic population that definitely might have experienced that. Asian population must have experienced that. Is that, and tell me if it's also true in Europe, actually, you will tell me that. But in Indian mothers are very stern, they're very strong, and they are very concerned about what the world would think of their child.
Oh, wow.
Is that true in Europe as well?
Yes, of course. Yeah,
and
of course.
It comes from love.
They think about too much what others think about. Yes, this is so right. Yeah, I remember. I don't like this, it's too much about concentrating other people. Yeah. Same.
So Indian mothers are very much like that. At least mine was, and at least from my friends and mothers I met.
You grow up with 23 family members.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's called a joint family. It's not unusual in this side of the world, but it is very unusual for the Western world. In India, it's very common. I would think it's common in Arabic culture too, because cousins live together and grandparents live together, and Asians, so I think families are also like that. Everybody lives together because that's just more fun. It sometimes is restrictive as hell, but
Yeah.
but it is a lot of fun. So a lot of people, we actually appreciate it. Like right now at my house, my parents are there. One of my childhood buddies is there. His whole family is there. We're having a ball time, right? So we like it. We don't necessarily worry about it so much. But yes, that's how I grew up. But anyway, so one of the things that used to happen was my mother would compare me a lot to other people and other kids because I wasn't the brightest kid. Like I wouldn't say I was like a A+ student. I was okay. I was one of those kids who didn't have to study but would score really well. That I was street smart, as we call it in India. I was just street smart kid. So I would always be compared, and I would always be, because I have an elder brother, and I always felt for most of my life that I was not loved by my mother. Wow. Because of constant comparison.
Okay.
And because of, I thought that she was always prioritizing my brother over me. I always thought that I came last in the queue of items.
Was there some situations?
Many.
When you look, many that you feel it?
Many situations where I felt that.
Okay.
So until I was 33, so about 7 years ago, I believed that to be true. I made that my story. I made that my story. And I used to resent my mother. Not resent per se, but I used to be like, why did she do that to me? Why? I wasn't like a bad kid or anything. I was naughty, but like kids are that, you know? So I was really like disheartened and lived very disheartened because of it. And of course I had a hard time attracting love because how could you feel loved by another person if you don't feel loved by your mother?
Yes.
Right? It's pretty hard to do, right? And so so much so that Goalcast is this company that makes viral videos. One time called me and they said, hey, we'd love to make a story about you. What story can we make? And I was like, you know what? I got to talk about my mother and how I never felt loved. And I go on and tell that story, and it's been watched by millions and millions of people. It's embarrassing a little bit now because how it changed after that. And so what happened is about 6 or 7 years ago, I really, in my coaching practice, one of the biggest things that we teach is that your truth will become the story that you tell yourself, right?
Yes.
Whatever you will notice, whatever you will focus on, you'll find evidence for it, right? So if you think you were traumatized, it will be very quick that you will identify the reasons why you must be traumatized and how you're living a hellish life now. Right?
Yes.
And if you keep telling yourself that, then good luck. You're never getting out of it.
Yeah. But
right?
how you heal this moment.
Yeah. So once I really dove deep into my own work, and I got familiar with the work of a gentleman called Alfred Adler. So in the 1920s, I want to say, there were 3 major names in the psychology field. One was Freud, which is where all the therapists, not modern, but traditional therapy is reliant on Freudian way of thinking, right? One was Carl Jung, very popular philosopher and psychologist. And third was Alfred Adler. Now, Jung and Freud, they were different, but similar in saying you need to heal your past to move into your future. Okay. They were very clear about that. At least Freud was. He was like, no, if you do not fix the trauma of your past, you cannot create a future, right? Adler was different. Adler said, we as human beings are always learning and evolving, which means we can choose when and how we evolve. Because Makes sense. Don't stop. Because and this is, again, I'm not trying to, so for example, I think Freud said by 7 years of your age, your entire personality is determined. 6 or 7 years of age, right? Adler said, no, people change in 30s and 40s and 50s all the time. And that became my experience because I realized, no, when I was 7 years old, if somebody met me from that time ago, and I meet my relatives all the time, they'll be like, you are not even the same person. Not the same person, not the same way of talking, not the same way of behaving, not the same way of responding. You are nothing like your 7-year-old, right? Not even your 13-year-old, not even your 18-year-old. You're a completely different person. I was like, listen, if I can grow and change just by deciding, why can't I decide that my mother loves me? Why can't I decide that my mother loves me, right? And so I said, I'm going to decide that my mother actually loves me. And then I said, okay, if I have to decide, I can't just say it. I was like, I need to find evidence, right? Because as much as we're emotional beings, we're rational beings too, right? So if rationally I can find evidence of my mother loving me, I think I can prove it to myself that my mother actually loves me. I don't even have to have a conversation with her about this.
Yeah.
And so I go in and I start looking at evidence for if my mother loves me. And lo and behold, I find, yes, my mother might have hit me a couple of times and compared me with other people. But when it came time once where I really wanted to go to a conference and we were kind of cash strapped that particular month for whatever reason, she was like, okay, I'll pawn my jewelry so he can go to this conference. She does love me.
It means like you start to concentrate in the good things. Oh,
You start to look at things.
Yes.
Because everything that we have until now told ourselves is a story. It is not the truth. If you look under the rug, if you look under the situation, you'll be like, oh, but that also happened. And that happened before that. That happened after that.
Yeah.
Right? And because you start to understand that thing a little bit more holistically, it's almost like instead of being in the movie, you're the observer of the movie.
You look from outside.
Yeah, you look from the outside. So suddenly you go, oh, hold on. That story that I was telling myself, I was totally missing the point of the other person.
Wow.
Right? And once you start to recognize that, you realize, holy cow, I have created a life that is my imagination. I can have any imagination.
But how you can change it after so many years?
Just by telling yourself a different story. Wow. It is really that easy.
And this works.
And it works so well. And I'll tell you why it's not so popular. Because it is that easy.
Yeah.
And so if I tell you it is that easy, and let's come into the action steps of really doing it, and you solve that problem in 2 or 3 days, entire industries disappear suddenly.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And people stop talking about, oh, I have this pain. They only talk about their goals. That is a lot harder to enroll. It's much harder for me to enroll you in great working out and having a fit body versus giving you a pill.
Yes.
Letting you stay attached to your trauma is like giving you a pill.
Yeah.
Oh, you feel so sad. I hear you. I can do this for your entire lifetime. That's why therapists have clients for 10, 20, 30 years talking about the same trauma. It's like, I get it. It's totally, you need to heal your trauma. I get it. Some people need to go through whatever. But if you're doing therapy for 20 years with the same person for the same reason, something's wrong with the therapist.
Of course. Yeah.
Like it's the model that doesn't work.
A lot of going on. A lot of going on. Oh my God. But it's so easy. So easy. I think the thoughts what we have is so important that people think too much. They think too much. Did you notice people who will send you always videos and pictures from the past?
Yeah.
Did you remember when we was young? They're living totally in the past.
Yeah.
And you can
it's
change
sometimes
everything.
hard for me to remember because my life goes so fast. There's sometimes you meet people like after a couple of months or a couple of years. I'll go, remember that time?
Yeah.
I remember. But after that, I've had like 25 such times. So it's like, if you vividly want me to remember, it'll take me a second. I have to go back, meditate and recall it from my brain to reinvigorate that memory. But I have to very memorable life every day.
Yeah, but let's speak about self-confidence. I think this is really a big problem in this today's world. That people don't have this self-confidence, how they can build it and how you support your clients in building their self-confidence and accepting who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So confidence, what I found, and tell me if you find this true as well for people that you interact with, is confidence is contextual. You can be confident in one thing and feel less confident in another one.
Yeah.
So overall confidence is nothing. It's a contextual confidence. And it's important to notice that because when people say, I don't feel confident, it's a gross generalization.
Okay.
And when you generalize something, you can't fix it. Because it's like saying, this is too bright. Well, the person who's doing it is like, which light should I lower? Like, it's too bright doesn't mean anything. But if I say, hey, the light on my face is really bright, much easier to fix, right? Because like, okay, that's light. Let's fix that one, right? So that's with confidence. If you say, I don't have confidence, which is what most people say, I don't feel confident. I don't know how to do this. I have a self-confidence issue. You don't. You have a confidence issue in a context, right? Now, if you find the context, we can work on the confidence. This is what we would do with our clients. So for example, some of our clients would go, hey, I don't feel confident presenting to my father because they have like, okay, my father is just so successful. How do I talk to him? Or I have a confidence issue giving a presentation. I'm a new person in the company, or I'm the newly appointed CEO of the company. And these kind of confidence issue, when they come to us, we go, okay, so you're not confident in this one thing. You're not a confident person. You're very confident when you're talking about, let's say, music, or you're very confident the way you dress, right? You're just not confident in giving a presentation. Okay, so let's think about what is confidence in presentation look like. So step one, contextualize what confidence is. Step two is know what confidence even is in that context, right? Because confidence means different to different people, right? So confidence to a person, just giving a hypothetical scenario, confidence to one person could be, all right, when I stand in front of the room, I feel my voice is there. I don't like stumble and mumble, and I can go through the slide deck completely comfortably. Wonderful. That is one confidence. Confidence, just to give the dimension of confidence, is the same presentation, or a person that is giving presentation can say, I feel confident when I can make the audience laugh while giving a presentation. Different level of confidence, right?
Of course.
Different level of confidence, different level of what they really want from that experience of life. So you need to know what confidence is. Contextually, first of all, in what context you need confidence. Secondly, what does it mean for you to be confident? And the third step, which is the most important step, is what are the steps to take for us to build the competence so we can feel confidence? Because confidence is nothing but your belief that you can do what you said you're going to do. Right? You're very confident driving a car because you've driven it 100 times, right?
Yeah.
You can confidently make that meal that you made 100 times.
And I think the confidence doesn't come from winning. It came from daring to try.
Yes.
You know, you have to try it. You have to find out. It's like, I think people sometimes they have in a mind that they have to do it right away perfect. No. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's like with public speaking, you know, to stand in front of people. The first maybe 10 times you feel like, oh my God, it's horrible. When you look back to the videos, I think it's like you have to work on yourself. I think confidence, and you have to do mistakes, and you have to, what I can say, you have to fall down and everything. I think this is part of confidence.
Yes, absolutely. That's moving confidence. And that's how you build a competence, is by falling down, trying stuff. So if you're trying to build confidence, anybody's trying to build confidence, look at if you can fall gracefully in front of less people first. If, let's say, it was around presentation, do it for 5 people.
Yeah.
Do it for 10 people. Do it for 50 people. And then do it for 5,000, right? That's okay. It's a journey. You're building confidence in how and what you want to do. So confidence is about everything about your belief in yourself of, can I do what I say I'm going to do? And that can only be developed by actual practice.
Yeah,
so
you're so right.
Agree,
coming to your event. Yes. Incredible.
So excited.
You organized your first event in Dubai. Yeah. What is it about? What is your purpose?
Absolutely. So what we have been able to do in the past several years of me coaching directly and training coaches across the globe is we have found that most people would have the most limitless life if they just understood a 3-step process that they can go through that will allow them to have that limitless life. What is a limitless life? A limitless life is a life that doesn't have a ceiling, that doesn't have a limitation that you may think currently you have. If you think you are somebody who has been chasing something and haven't gotten it, and now you feel stuck, or you feel like the career is kind of stagnated, or you feel you have done, or you kind of lost purpose in life and lost meaning of life, then we show you in about 3 days to 3 very specific things, which I'll explain in a second, by getting you to get out of the state that you're in, the limit that you put on yourself, to becoming limitless. And more importantly, having those tools so you can continue to be limitless. So you don't, we're not like therapists. We don't want you to keep coming back unless you feel that you need to be back in that environment for your own sake. The model is provided to you fully that you can take it back home and actually continue to have a limitless life.
Oh, this is important.
Yeah, this is very important because I think we are getting into, and Dubai may not have seen the full effect of it just yet, but we are getting into a very interesting time.
Yes.
Like there's the trade wars that have started at the time of recording, at least they've started. I don't know what will happen next. There's whole AI wave that is coming that is very interesting, very fascinating. So work-wise, it's a very interesting time. Relationship-wise, it's a very interesting time because there are more single people that there have ever been on this planet that are over 40. I don't know if you know the stat.
Yes.
This is more single men and women over 40, which means we are going into our later half of life with no partner. Yeah. Which is very interesting.
Yes.
Very different kind of relationship that we have never had before.
What do you think? What is the problem?
Too many. That's a whole different tangent, but it is lot to do with choices and not commitment and not knowing the
Not
purpose of it.
yes.
Yeah, and not knowing purpose of what a relationship is for. Right? A lot of people just think a relationship because I need to have kids. Some people have relationships for that reason. Some have high school sweethearts because they are responding to their dopamine and oxytocin response. They're not finding partners with a core value alignment, right? And that's a whole deep dive. We actually do this on day 2 of the event as well, where we go into relationship and we help you revisit your relationship of however you might have been seeing it right now, or if you're single or you're somebody who's looking for a relationship, help you identify how to really start working through finding a real partner that could be a companion for life if you choose to. Of course, we don't force anyone to anything. So that's another thing. So the world is turning a lot. There's too many changes coming at us too fast, right? Our kids are developing very differently than how we were developing as when we were developing, as myself, and I'm sure yours too as well. So everything is changing too fast because of technology, because of behaviors and cultures moving. So it's an interesting world that we are stepping into even more. And because of that, you must at least inquire if you can be ready for it.
So and if possible, like you need to prepare yourself.
And at least try to prepare. Or if you inquire and the answer is yes, I probably need to prepare for this world that I'm entering into, probably invest a little bit more time and actually prepare and rediscover and reinvent who you could be. And if your life feels like, well, it's good, but it's not great, well, maybe it's time to rediscover and reinvent who you want to be. And that happens with our clients all the time. That I've met many people in Dubai who are like that, very successful, very wealthy, don't know what they're doing, or are doing it just to show, but they don't mean it, they don't feel it, which is interesting. Very interesting dynamics here or anywhere in the world, really. So what we do at Limitless is we take you through 3 days, and those 3 days are focused on life, the life that you've lived, which is your past. Because there is a little bit of uncovering or discovery that one must do. You don't have to get re-traumatized. You don't have to feel like I need to heal my trauma, but you need to know what's the story that you're telling yourself. Because if you know the story that you're telling yourself, then we get you to day 2, which is love. And love is about falling in love with yourself again. Like
First of all, that you understand yourself.
Yeah, so that's the day that's called life. Yeah.
Did you go back in the past also to understand why you're this person today?
And we find out your values of what do you stand for.
And then you go to love.
And then we go to day 2, which is love. Love is about falling in love with yourself.
Yes.
Finding the identity that you truly are and want to be. And what is the reason to be in love with yourself for that, right? To really fall in love with yourself. That's day 2, right? It sounds a little woo-woo, but it's very practical what we do. It's applicable to men and women equally. And then third is legacy. Legacy is about how do we take all of this into the future and create a life that becomes the limitless life that we've been wanting to live, or what we were coming into this event to find and live. So it's life, love, legacy.
Wow, beautiful. Did you have, what I can say, someone who comes to you really maybe broke, and after this, you do these events before this kind of events, you change their lives? Did you have a story?
So many.
One?
Oh, yeah, no, there's so
share?
many. I have 3,100 testimonials. Wow. So 3,100 testimonials on the money.
That's incredible.
I have a few stories.
Which one touched your heart?
Yeah, I think usually the stories that really are close to my heart are mother stories. I don't know why, because I happen to have a lot of my students, or a good percentage of my students who are moms. And a lot of them are single moms, a lot of European, a lot of American, a lot of any region actually, single moms that are there in the group as well.
You was not here at my time when I was a single mother, when I was broke with 2 childs. I love to have someone who guides me in this time. It was so hard.
Yeah, so those are a lot of our students are mothers, and I think that's. And I'm a family man, so I think that's why I'm a little relatable in that sense to myself. And the name that I don't want to give away the name of a person, but there was this phenomenal lady that came really traumatized. Actually, she was not even a single mom at the time. She was more in her 50s, I want to say, or 60s, late 50s, mid 50s, and she came to the event, and she was like absolutely in in a really bad state because she had held on to the story in her life similar to mine, that my mother didn't love me. She thought her family didn't love her.
Oh.
And her parents didn't love her. And during she was like, I keep getting success and I keep losing it because of this relationship that I had in the past, where I find the partner, then I lose the partner. I find somebody that I think loves me, and then I can't be loved or feel like I can't be loved. And she had this cycle, and she kept going in these cycles again and again and again. And she was almost 55 by the time when she came, or something in that range. And by the end of the event, she felt free. And recently when she emailed me, I have not interacted with her ever since. It's been 2 years since the event happened, the one that we did with her. She reached out to me and she was like, I'm with someone, I'm married to this person, this love of my life.
Oh,
and
this
she's
is so
having
beautiful.
an amazing life right now. So
thank you so much for sharing. Wow.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story. Yeah, I'm really looking forward, and I wish you good luck. Wow, the first big event here in Dubai.
Thank you.
And did you like to share something with the audience at the end?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. That's the first thing I want to share. You're doing such meaningful work in so much context to Dubai, which is so important because this is, yes, a bubbling town. Yes, it's a big city, but I don't see enough of these conversations, at least in my experiences of now. And I come from a world where I know that it's important for all of us to also experience life with joy, not just become the richest person we can, but actually experience joy. And you're a beacon of that here. So thank you for bringing it all here. I know Nita cherishes it. I cherish it. And I know people around you cherish it. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this podcast. Secondly, if there is anyone who's here who's like, hey, listen, I am feeling that I have limits in my life that I put myself under a ceiling of, I've not been able to get growth that I want, right? I want to just find myself again. Go over to limitlessimmersion.com and check out the event. Right now, at the time of recording this, it's not an early bird discount. If you come through and you tell us that you listen to this podcast, that's how you found about the event, we have a special gift for you at the event that is only for you. So if you listen to this podcast, don't tell everybody else this code, because it's a special gift only for Daniela and people listening to this podcast. We have a very special gift for you at the event as a VIP.
And we share it also in the description. People will find all the information.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniela.
Wow, what a powerful talk with Ajit Nawalkha. His story shows us that anything is possible when we really follow our purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who really needs inspiration today. Make sure to subscribe to the Daniela Baumann Show and turn on notification for more amazing guests. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you have the power to create the life you really want. Keep going.